We're just gonna get going here. Hopefully you can hear me. Hopefully you can see me. I'm not too shadowy. Looks like Restream's going and YouTube is going. Hi folks, welcome to Deep Dive. We'll wait a little while and then we'll get started. Hi Beata, hello David. I was thinking I was gonna have to restart to get my my audio going, but it turned out I just had to change it to the right input and then it worked, which is good. Hey Hams Labs, welcome, welcome. Good afternoon, C. Grover. Thanks for making it. All right, one more minute and then I'll get going. Sorry, I'm a little late. I remembered to check my audio in OBS before I got things going. Jack in the shop says, I forgot I had this open. I was setting up for a fiber laser burn. Ooh, fancy. That sounds more makery than my software world. I had the AC on running. I do have AC now, which is good. But later in the stream, I might have to turn it on again. We'll see. I've got this clock thing from the shop. It's currently 79 in here and it's happy, but a couple more degrees and it'll be unhappy and I'll be unhappy too. All right, hello everyone. My name is Scott. I work for Adafruit on CircuitPython. Adafruit is an open source hardware and software company based out of New York City. I work remotely for them and have since I started here in Seattle. I'm now in this brand new office. This is stream number 2 from the office. Hopefully it goes well as the first one. And CircuitPython is an open source version of Python that runs on tiny computers called microcontrollers. Here's an example that is blurry. This is my custom hacked Metro M7. So this is the microcontroller here. And the USB port here, you plug in, it shows up as a drive. There's a code.py file on it, and you can edit that to get your code running. It's meant to be super quick and easy for lots of small embedded projects, making it really easy. Hello, Isaac, Ben, and hello, Yanni. Hams Lab says, I'm curious about your shirt. This is SuperCon 2019. It's one of the conferences that I kind of am thinking about going to again. I'm not planning on going this year, but it's one that I did enjoy, so I think it's in my list of places to go. This is Deep Dive. I work on the software, the C underside of CircuitPython. So in Deep Dives, we tend to pick up topics that whatever I'm working on for CircuitPython, which happens to be upgrading the vendor SDK called the IDF for iespressif chips. I'm just about done with that, so I'm hoping we can polish that up today. But I also love to answer questions and go on tangents, so bear with me as I do that. And if you have questions, feel free to ask them. I love being directed that way as well. So why don't we just dive right in, and if folks have questions, ask them. Hey Dishipu. I guess what I should say first is I did get the hover cam set up, and it looks like it's active still, which is great. It's a little funky because I have these are the PC byte probes, which I'm just currently using for connecting to the UART output, which is kind of funny, but it is quite convenient. This board is it's a little reflective. I don't know exactly. That must be the room light that's reflecting, but this board here is a prototype board of, I think, what's going to be called the qualia. Jeff just renamed it, but it's a dotclock display driver board. Unfortunately, I don't have it working. I haven't gotten this display working, and I'm not sure why, and I'm not sure I want to work on that. But yeah, so this display is coming, and Jeff's been doing most of that work, but I had to update. I updated the IDF 5 stuff on top of Jeff's work, and the APIs changed, so I have to update Jeff's work to IDF 5. I've got it compiling, which is kind of my bar. There's going to be a lot of issues probably with the IDF 5 update, and so I'm not going to like hold myself. I'm not going to worry too much about bugs. Like if you can use CircuitPython generally, so hey, unexpected maker. So the tests I have been running this week on the IDF 5 update is just a basic Wi-Fi test that does both HTTP and HTTPS requests. And the reason I was doing that, and I'm glad I did, is because I changed a bunch of TLS settings, which is used by HTTPS. They were all okay, but some of the configurations of the boards were a little too RAM heavy, so that I couldn't actually create an SSL socket. So I had to change some IDF settings to make that happen. Change them back to basically what the current settings are. I don't know how they got unset. Like the number of TCP buffers and things like that I've changed, which gives enough RAM to do this test. So that's mainly where I was at. I tested on the C3, the S3, the S2, and the ESP32. And I tested the C3 dev kit and the C3 QtPy, because the dev kit for the C3 uses a USB serial to serial converter, not the native one, I think. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I was just getting boards building that have the DotClockFramebuffer active. And that's why I was using this board to test it. I was hoping it would work after I got everything compiling and running without error, but unfortunately that's not the case. I can show you my desktop. Let's just dive right into it. So these are the changes that I've got currently happening, and before I commit it, I want to remove these debugs, so that's something we're gonna have to do. And I changed the way, so it was using this ESP error check macro. Beata is squeaking and I'm not sure why. ESP error check macro, which is like an ESP IDF thing. But I switched it to this CP check ESP error, which will raise a Python exception. We already have this thing that maps ESP errors to Python exceptions, so this will raise the appropriate section, which is quite nice. So when I didn't have enough memory, then I get a proper Python error message. Unexpected Maker says new office is looking messy and lived in, as it should. Yeah. A lot of the stuff on the shelves I just threw up there. I didn't spend a whole lot of time. Oh, it looks like the cat cam is glowing. I wonder if cat cam would work. No. This camera just, these C920s just don't like to work for me. I have it on the bench as well as another way to look at the bench. Yeah, so I brought everything in, I got it up on the shelves, and haven't been organizing too much. I ordered more of the boxes because I see. I ordered more of these boxes. I'm really starting to I'm really liking it. You can see I have my ESP32 S3 box here that I've actually, started to collect them in. You can see that I've got these unexpected maker boards here for any testing there. And then I've started also, these are what I was using this week, so I took the time to organize them. But I also use my label maker to actually write what modules on there instead of having to discern the font that's really hard to read on the module itself. Got myself a matrix portal S3 as well in there. So yeah, I'm liking this system so far. This box is out because I'm going to put this qualia board back in there soon enough. Cedar Grove says using a unexpected maker Feather S2 for a CircuitPython IoT project. Great board design, smooth sailing. William says, are we going to be getting ESP32 Bluetooth support in CircuitPython? It depends on when someone adds it. Is the snarky response. I did actually try to turn on the Bluetooth support that we have kind of existing in CircuitPython. It's not complete. I did try to turn it on for ESP32, and it actually is like 200K bigger. So I think we should think about whether we want to do it in 9x, because it probably will change the partition layout, unfortunately, just because it's like a giant ball of code to support it on the ESP32. And 9x is a good time to do that. So I don't want to do that in this change. But it's something we could think about for 9x. There's extra work to support the full CircuitPython BLE API, and that's a limitation of Nimble last I looked. So unfortunately, that's even like kind of underneath the IDF that we'd have to work on. So that's gonna be a lot of work. My goal right now is to get this 5.0 update out for PR and then merged. And once it's out for PR, I want to start on the 5.1 update. And the thing that's kind of interesting to me is adding C6 support, which I looked into just a little bit more. It's in the C3 family, but it has more RAM, which is interesting to me. So I'm gonna take, so I was kind of like, depending on our timing here, I'm kind of hoping I can clean up these 5.0 changes, confirm. There's like, I have a branch on GitHub of mine that runs all the CI, and there's like 5 builds that aren't building. So I want to make sure those 5 are building, and then I'm gonna push those changes. The CI will run again, and then I can make I want to do a rebase and squash everything together, because there's like, I don't know, a dozen commits that may include debugging and stuff like that. So I do want to squash before I make the PR, either today or on Monday. I'll do that. Maybe I'll prep it today, and then I'll push it to CI. I could just push it today. And then once the PR is out, I can do in another branch the 5.1 update, which I'm keen to try. Unexpected Maker says, straight on the 5.1 for sure. C6 and H2 support. Yeah, I'm interested in that. H2, unfortunately, is less interesting because it doesn't have Wi-Fi. So like H2 would be better if our Bluetooth support was complete on ESP, which is unfortunate and something we should do. So I don't know. We'll see. Got to get through 5.1 update first. But see, like 9.0 or 9x should be in pretty good shape once we're on 5.1 and we're on the latest MicroPython as well, which is what Dan's working on. I saw on the master branch of ESP IDF that they are adding P4 support there, which is very cool too. So there's a chance, and I think generally we're okay updating like from 5.1 to 5.2, not on a major branch as well. So we could get like a 9.0 or a 9.1 that had support for had that as well. Okay. So here's what I was doing is this is the debug output. Let me make it taller again. This is my current like kind of debugging setup. Is I've got this is used for flashing, and this is both like the CircuitPython output and the ESP logging output. So you can see that there's like LCD debugging stuff coming out, and it's not crashing, it's just not showing anything, unfortunately. And Jeff has a lot more experience debugging this, so I kind of want to just say, okay, Jeff, try this and figure it out. My main concern right now is that it compiles. So let me find, So this window, I have a browser window off screen here. This is the CI output, so we can see this qualia S3 didn't build, and it didn't build because of this include. So this is like an old include from 4x. So that's why I was fixing the build, and I have fixed the build. So now if we do just the build itself, we'll see that it succeeds. So I just want to do a quick, let's remove the debug prints that I added that I don't need anymore. Oh, and I did have some fixes that I made to the IDF, unfortunately, so I'm gonna have to do that too. Adriano Kakamo says, I'm trying to set up a racing drone track with drones to be controlled remotely over the internet from players over the world. Can anybody help with the technical aspect? I assume you mean FPV, so you're gonna have to figure out how to stream video and controller input out. So the video is probably the hard part, and being able to fix them when they get crashed. I have experience with that, with crashing drones. Okay, where are my... I'm just about to the point where I'm going to turn the AC on. Hopefully it's not too bad. I thought I might need to do a refresh call, but I'm not going to worry about it. We don't mind too far out of topics, but it's not an easy problem. All right, I think that's all of the logging. Yeah, one thing that's nice about 5.0 is they have an accessor for the frame buffer now. So this hack where we store the same struct info and then get it out of the struct, we don't need it anymore. So that's a nice cleanup that we get from 5. I made the camera build smaller by OSing it, so we want that. This one I switched to quad IO. So I think this is correct as well. I just was able to delete these two includes that didn't work. I don't know why they were included, but we don't need them anymore, which is great. And this is the hack where it does this like container of thing. Unexpected Maker asks, I missed last week. Did you solve that Watchdog issue from 2 weeks ago? What was it in the end? The Watchdog issue was CircuitPython wasn't correctly protecting the psram pins. So it was resetting. No, it wasn't resetting them. It wasn't resetting the psram pins, but it was allowing other code to change what they were doing. It wasn't marking them as in use. And there's a fix on 8.2x for it now. But yeah, like the Watchdog issues I've found, and I ran into this similarly, is if your psram is host. If your settings to psram are host, then you're gonna have a problem. Okay. Let's stage that. This is the new CircuitPython check ESP error. So if it's okay, then we're done. Otherwise, we raise the error. We want that as well. We want this. This is not something we want. I was just doing that for the kconfig updating. Oh, and I wanted this error message, although this I don't want. I was unable to use all the pins that I wanted because it was reserving them for JTAG. So this is just a heads up now that it does that. Unexpected Maker, the other thing I wanted to show, and this will be interesting to you, is now in Expressif boards, I have And maybe we should just show this. So like for your Nano S3, we now have these explicit flash and psram modes. I think 80 is what I was seeing you were doing in SDK config, but a lot of boards, at least for Adafruit stuff, is like this is set to DIO because it used to be only used for like the flash setting, but now it's not. So now it's quad. And then we also have the like speed set here as well. So that's going to be a new thing that all of the ESP boards will have. All right. LaShonda asks, how do you typically debug LCD issues? Find any implementation that works, compare the two with a logic analyzer, and work towards the one that functions. Yeah, that is a good approach, to have a known good example. For my debugging here, my next step was going to be to use the oscilloscope to just make sure that I'm getting output at all. But as I was saying, like I think it's a little too far from like where I've been working, and so it is a better task for Jeff because he's done that a bunch. And the code that I'm using to test it is all his code too. So there's this weirdo like initialization stuff that has to happen for the screens as well, where you have to do spy commands to initialize the screen, but because the RGB displays take so many pins for the colors, you typically have the spy bus for initialization over an I2C expander. So there's stuff that's just been doing that as well. So if I were to continue to debug it, I would just verify that I'm getting output on pins. And maybe yeah, I'm not going to do that now, but kind of that's where I would go. Anytime where you're like you think you're checking all the errors, but it's still not working, getting insight into the signals that are coming out is a good idea. I do have like a Salier that I could use here too, but like I said, my main concern is getting it to compile. And then the nice thing, yeah, so like something like IDF 5 is like a giant change where you got to get everything compiling and hopefully working. But it's also one of those things where like if you have this big change, you're the only one that can kind of fix it. I mean, Git, you could have other people working on that branch, but it's like a lot of coordination rather than kind of like getting it all back in the mainline. And once it's in mainline, we have this infrastructure for like absolute latest builds that people can test and everything like that. So I think, yeah, like even though it's not perfect, I'd rather get it in early. Unexpected Maker says, yeah, awesome. So have you updated all of the existing boards, or do we need to go back and update our own boards? So when I switched it, I was trying to go based on the SDK config that was in the existing repo. So if I saw SDK config there that would say like, oh, actually use 80 megs, I tried to change this setting to match that. And then with the updater script, the kconfig settings then go away. Because it's doing diffing between like CircuitPython defaults and ESP defaults and all that stuff. You'll see here that like the SDK config here is really simple. It's just like the lwip hostname now. But what I haven't done is like there's a lot of boards, I think even Adafruit boards, where we haven't like pushed the boundary of what those flash and RAM settings are. And I haven't done the testing to make sure that like, you know, a particular board can run at 80 or even 120 megahertz for flash or RAM. And that's actually part of why I'm not doing it now, is because with 5.1, you have the ability of setting it to 120. So I kind of don't want to kind of do a full sweep or a test run yet until I can do the 120s on the S3 at least. Another reason to do 5.1. And the other thing to do 5.1 is like, I don't really want to debug 5.0. I'd rather debug 5.1 because, you know, the problem we find might be actually fixed in 5.1. So, yeah, my plan is to like get 5.0 in and have that be a benchmark, but then, and I kind of like benchmark or a testing point. What's the right? A checkpoint, right? So like if there's an issue on 5.1, we can then check to see if it's in the 5.0 thing as well to just kind of like better understand where an issue was added. Okay, I'm gonna turn the AC on because it's 82.8 now. So if it's too loud, we can figure something out. It is pretty loud. And I'll turn it down here a little bit. So how's that? Is that terrible? Graham says, will this IDF 5 update fix the reported problem with memory leaks crashing Wi-Fi during extended use? That's really hard to know. Any issues that happen over a long period of time are really hard to debug and decide whether it's an issue or not. So, sorry, I can't tell you. If it was an IDF bug, then yes, probably, but I don't really know. I don't know. And I think we're probably going to change. So MicroPython has updated to IDF 5 as well, and they sound very industrial. Sorry. I don't know if there's like a filter or anything I could do, but hopefully it's not too bad. I bought this AC used, so it's not like the absolutely quietest one I can do. I hopefully won't need it throughout the whole year. Once it's cooler out, I should be able to just open the window. But getting a cross breeze is kind of tricky. I can turn it off when it gets cooler in here again. Otherwise I'm going to spend the next hour and a half sweating. Okay. So yeah, Graham, sorry I don't have something more definitive. It's just a matter of like, you should test it and see. I do have one device here that's running kind of all the time, and it does crash from time to time, but I mainly just like catch the crashes and restart, and it's okay. Yeah, any long running problem is really hard to debug. Okay, what was I doing? You can filter out the fan noise. Does the AC need to be near the window? It does, because there's an exhaust. It feels colder here just with the sound. Yeah, there's like an exhaust tube that goes out of the. So there's a like port here. Just you can barely see. There's like a tube coming out the back, and that goes out a little hole. So the window doesn't have to be open, which is nice. Notch filter at 120 can help with fan motor noise. I don't know how to do that with OBS. But that's not a bad idea. I'll just sound industrial today and maybe play around with it later. Okay, so the qualia builds, and then I wanted to look at the other. Qualia didn't build, the S3 camera didn't build, which I think I fixed already. Adafruit S3. ESP32 S3 camera. Japanese. The noise is fine. Thank you, Lashonda. Appreciate that. You want me to stay cool. True. Like my brain goes super fuzzy when it's too hot. Yeah, I think it would be hard. The AC works better if it's closer to the port too, I think. So maybe I could get something like that would like sit between me and it, but I don't know. Hopefully it won't need it too long. All right, let's run the other ones. Oh, and I have to do the IDF. I have to do another PR for our version of the IDF. So I think most of these boards that didn't build are ones that Jeff added to test the LCD stuff, or the dot clock stuff. So hopefully these ones are fixed already. Oh, did I say that if I get this PR updates all going, I was hoping to actually start the 5.1 update today? I don't know how bad it's gonna be, but I thought that could be cool. See how much progress we can make on it. Oh, DCD says another trick would be to pre-cool the room ahead of time. I did that. I turned it off right before I started streaming. I ran it for like an hour, and I was down to like 78, but it got hot real fast. It doesn't help that it's like the afternoon, right? So I could probably put the shade all the way down, and that would maybe help a little bit. But yeah, I did think about that. Maybe I should have done it more, but well. All right, so we're running this hacktablet thing. We'll see if it builds. It didn't. It failed for the same reason, the dotclock stuff. So it's probably fine now. I'm just gonna run it, and then we'll do this next one, which is also like the S3 eval kit, or the LCD eval kit as well. Yeah, so I'll make a PR for the IDF changes. We can just go here, and this is Sublime Merge. And it's a great way to keep track of changes that are going on and also undo the ones. So I do printf debugging a lot, especially on iespressif. So this is a really easy way to revert the printfs. And in fact, you can like highlight certain lines and then just discard those as well. So this is an existing change here that Jeff did, but is not on the 5.0 branch. And then here's a typo that I was like, I'm gonna fix the typo. I was having a problem where it was trying to disable the clock even though the clock had never been set up, so I added that. And I also added I had the problem that it wasn't able to allocate the frame buffer, and it wasn't actually like recovering from that failure. You know, ideally when it can't allocate something, it should like raise a Python exception and not completely fall over. But the IDF wasn't, the existing version wasn't actually correctly airing out. It wasn't airing out correctly. So this fixes that by a pattern that they have further down in the file where they capture the return value and then go to error. And you can see here that error returns the return value from the sub thing. So in the original version, they're not actually setting return to the error when they return. And this destroy was not working either because we never set up the clock, blah, blah, blah. So this is the change that I've got to propose to the IDF. And actually, I could just do that right now. Oh, good. So this board built, so let's do this next one. The board builds take a little time because they're not set up to be, I never do them in parallel because we've had problems in the past. So, this is the CircuitPython 8 version. I do not want that. We're not using this anymore, so let's status, and now we'll switch branches to dotclock. Adafruit is origin. So here I just want to rebase on the merged version. And I guess what we'll do is we'll do a 5.1 branch as well. Oh, I haven't actually. ESP LCD for allow psram allocation when only memory mapped, and also fill successfully on frame buffer. Able to allocate frame buffer. Let's not do that on screen. Trying to make sure my paste buffer doesn't have a password in it. The fan that is controlled with CircuitPython. It crossed my mind to like make an IR blaster so I could turn it on when I'm not here, the AC. But I had this problem where, well, I just bought it and there's a plug on the back that was open, and so it leaked out all over the floor. So now I'm like, I only want to run it when I'm actually here, which is fine. It does a pretty good job cooling stuff down, even though this doesn't show it. It feels cooler to me. But. Okay, so that was, I think, the second to last one that failed. There's this Maker Fabs TFT7, which again is like another LCD board. So we'll just do a quick build of that as well. Should be fine. Maker Fabs 7. Okay, so I committed that, and now I'm going to rebase it. Push that to my own branch. And then I'm going to go to and then I'm going to do a commit at this level. DJ Dev3 says, how are devs working on 9 when 8x is main? Is there a 9x main? So main is not 8x, it is 9x. All of the 8.2 releases are coming out of the 8.2x branch. Yeah, so main is 9.0 or 9x. We'll do alphas and stuff. But we're waiting to do official alpha releases for 9.0 until we have MicroPython 120 merged, because it changes the MPY format again. So 119 changed it, which is why you have to use PI files with main right now. And then 120 will change it again, but we won't change it a third time. We don't have to change it again after that. We'll be up to date with MicroPython. So yeah. Let's go back to Sublime Merge. This we want stage. So bindings should include the common hell headers. And the reason is that sometimes they have data structures that they're importing. This is the change we just made, so we want that as well. This we don't want. So let's commit all that. And we built. So update dotclock or 5.0. Blah, 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 that's fine. It'll format stuff because I don't format things perfectly. And that's okay. Oh, we should make a PR for that. So here you can see that, like, we carry our own branch of the IDF with fixes. So Isaac Ben says, so if we want to contribute an issue with milestone 9.0, do we need to pull from main? Not necessarily. So if it's marked with milestone 9.0, that's really just we want to make sure and look at it on the Adafruit side before 9.0. But if you would like to, if the problem is in 8.2 and you want to fix it for an 8.2 release, do it in 8.2x first. Because every so often we'll merge 8.2x back into main. So all of the fixes you do on 8.2x will get moved over to main as well. And that's the easier direction to go. It's a little weird. You have to basically have two copies of a commit if it goes in main first. So going to 8.2x first and then into main is easier than the reverse. Because we don't want to, with 8.2x changes, we're okay getting them all in 9.0, but with 9.0 changes, we don't want them in 8.2x. So it's easier to go one way than the other. But yeah, so if it's in 8.2x and you want it stable anytime soon, then it should go in the 8.2x release branch. But I mean, it shouldn't be that long until, well, hopefully. Dan's actively working on the 120 merge. So we're hoping to get to the point where we're starting to do 9.0 alphas again. It's kind of like, that'll be good because then we can all do all of the MPY and bundle structure as well. So it's something we want to do for sure. Okay, so this PR, we'll kind of want to wait for the IDF 5 CircuitPython PR until this is in. So if you're having fun with main, or if main's working just fine, then that's fine. We can if it fixes in main, we can always cherry pick it onto 8.2x. I mean, it's a little annoying, but if we find that we need it in 8.2x, we have options. Okay, so now I made that PR. I haven't made this. Oh wait, I did make this commit. This is old. Okay. So I just made that commit, and now I'm going to push that to my update IDF branch, which is what this CI run is running off of. So hopefully all the boards will build. We'll update the IDF commit once the IDF changes are merged in, and then it should be ready for PR. Hopefully it'll be ready for PR. I know it's not perfect, but I've been working on it a while. Microdev did the vast majority of work already. So yeah. Let's, any other questions, or should we try to do 5.1? I don't know exactly what is involved in 5.1. But this migration guide will tell us. GCC is upgraded, which should be fine. We might need to do this. Which we can. Following items are deprecated. Like, there's not that many changes. I wonder, I want to try this. It might be really quick. Like, this says there's not that many changes, so it could be. FreeRtos now always uses internal memory. Power management stuff. Okay, this could be really quick. So I want to give this a shot. So what do we have to do? We have to, I'm going to just switch myself to an update IDF 5.1 branch. And now I'm going to go into ESP IDF and I'm going to switch to a CircuitPython v5.1 branch. And I'm going to create that. LaShonda asks, do you do local compilation with a native IDF install or are you using a Docker image? I am using native IDF. Yeah. Yeah, so usually when I set up, I'll do, and I use fish, so it's a little weird. I'll do export IDF path, and then I'll do .export.fish, and then the first time I use one, and actually we'll have to do this right now. So let's close these. So yeah, I'll have to show my IDF setup right now, actually. So because we're gonna want to do a git, let's see what our remotes are. So we're gonna want to pull git fetch expressif, and I don't actually care. Usually we don't track releases. We track release branches of expressifs. So my goal is to switch us from the release 5.0 branch to the release 5.1 branch. So what I'm going to do, and I think if we see our git log, we've got a couple fixes that I've done, and then there's more. So I think we want to git fetch unshallow. That should remove this grafted thing. And the reason it says grafted is it's just an optimization for, it's an optimization so that you don't need the whole Git history. But that makes it harder to do rebases, which is what I'm about to do. So I'm going to rebase these commits after, so you can't see where I'm pointing. Let me point with my mouse. So here is 501 tag. So this is an official release from expressif. And then everything above it are changes that either microdev or myself or the folks that did the changes that microdev pulled in have done on top of it. So there's just a few fixes that we carry. And now what we want to do is we basically want to rebase. So we want to do these 4 changes, but we want to do, and maybe we'll just do it as a kind of catch-all again. But we want to do it on top of 5.1 and not 5.0. So we should be able to do git rebase I, and we can actually use the expressif release 5.1. Let's see what that does. Invalid upstream. Oh, but I have an extra E. So I started typing it. And that doesn't look right. So that's not right. That's too many. We should only see 4 things there. So now I'm going to do git rebase abort. And hopefully that'll send us back to where we want to be. Onto, I think we could do onto and then what was it, 5.0.1? There we go. Holy moly, I got it right. So it's that finer syntax is saying where do I want to move it and what are my existing changes based on, I think. All right, so it applied cleanly. So now if we do git log, we should see that this is the latest change to 5.1. And if we go to expressif IDF and seed commits, we can see that this is the 697 is the latest from them. And now these commit hashes will have changed because they got rebased. And then I don't know. At some point they did a 5.1.1 update, but I'm not sure where that was. So if we look at here, maybe they'll show us where the 5.1.1 tag is. I don't see it. There must be a lot of changes. Anyway, so I think we're in the right state. Git rebasing seems like black magic to me. So rebase, the way that I like to think of it is that you're replaying changes that you made on something else. So it's kind of like it's like cherry pick, except it's more than one commit kind of all in one go. So cherry pick takes the patch from an individual commit and tries to apply it on top of where you are now, whereas rebase tries to take a number of commits and do that kind of in sequence. So it's replaying all of the commits on top of a new starting point. Okay, so we want to do the export again, and now we'll do install. So because it said it uses a new GCC, we'll do this new install. And that's why I started a new terminal, so I didn't have state from my old version. So here is it. It's installing all of the new what if this just works? Should I just do a 5.1 update then? I mean, if it's really simple, then maybe I should just do, instead of doing 2 PRs, I should just do 1. I could do it as 2 commits. But like, if nothing significantly changes, then maybe it is easier. We'll find out. All right, so now my environment's set up. I did the install and I did the export, and it's telling me there's old versions of stuff that I could delete that I probably should, but I do move, I do shift around. So let's just make a board. Let's do this qualia one because that's what I have plugged in. The tab complete doesn't work very well. But we're going to do a clean first because I don't want to pull in any of the IDF stuff. And we're in a new Python environment, so I've got to install the CircuitPython requirements because the IDF sets up its own Python environment. So we have to install our dependencies into that as well. All right, well, it doesn't work. Oh, okay. So this is telling me to update submodules. So if I look at git status, and you notice that here it's not green, it's red. So what I need to do is git submodule update. Oh, I always do this. This is the worst. I need to figure out how to take commands that don't work out of my history. Okay, so embed TLS has new commits and modified content. So let's just switch to it. I think I turned on some debugging, or let's see what happened. Yeah, I just changed it so it printed out correctly. So let's just do submodule update init again so we get the correct version. Now we're green. New project, this should be quick and easy and gratifying, and then it doesn't work at all. All right, looks like we're up to date on the IDF side. We have the correct submodules, so let's do a clean again, and then try to build it. I just want to start from like a blank directory. All right, we have things to fix. Silly me, I thought it would be easy. Okay. So this looks like include issues. This can be, so we have this like weird hybrid builds with the IDF. So we'll build a bunch of support libraries using the IDF tools, and then we'll build CircuitPython using our kind of like normal make setup. And we link in that normal make setup. So we have this big long list of like state that the IDF would manage for us, but because we're using our own link step, it doesn't. So include files is one of the things that it doesn't usually, we don't usually update automatically. So oh, and we did see that the lwipopts thing did change. A lot of these are the same thing. So usually the way that I'll figure these out is by, this is just, I don't know why that debug shows up. So let's just start from the bottom. So let's try to find this file. Like it might have changed. Like maybe they updated freertos or something. And so here we can see that it's in IDF components, freertos, ESP additions, architecture, blah, blah, blah. Freertos, config arch. So like the freertos part is the same, but our include for it must be wrong now. So let's see what we see. Our include path, I should say. So here we go. Freertos. Yeah, so here we can see that we have this ESP additions, but it doesn't have architecture, or it's like kernel portable, whereas we now need additions arch. Architecture include. I wonder if that's, well, that's freertos kernel. Let's just take a quick glance, and I'll do this in here. I want to know if like I need to remove. Like, should I replace the ones that we have, or update them, or should I add an additional one? So I'm going to look in components, freertos, ESP additions. So there's no include here anymore. So these two includes aren't valid. Or no, I'm not in ESP additions yet. Okay, so there is an include in freertos. So I think what I want to try is I want to do arch, IDF, target, arch. And I want to give it a try to remove that and see if it works. Oh, I got so excited. It's just going to be so easy. Okay, so this is... we saw this file, didn't we? This is probably because we changed it. to find where the file is. I don't care what reference is it. Okay, so yeah, I shouldn't have done it that way. We want both. And we still have a bunch of errors, but hopefully it's a different file. Nimble transport, lwipopts, GPIO.h. Like at some point we're gonna have to update from legacy APIs. So there's GPIO driver / GPIO-H is in components driver GPIO. Which I'm a little surprised. Components driver include driver. Components driver include ESP private. So we can circumvent it by, we could add driver GPIO include driver. And this is all stuff we have to deal with because of our like hybrid system. Components driver. So I think it probably means that we're kind of circumventing the notion of private. We haven't gone full on cmake, and every time I look at cmake, I'm like, why do they have a new language? And the language doesn't solve the problems I think need to be solved. It doesn't solve problems we have. And I talked to other people that use cmake, and they say, I don't like cmake. So it's just like hard for me to pull the trigger on that. Even though TAC's been moving, TAC has been moving TinyUSB over to it. Okay, so this is a similar change, but for the two-wire TWAI, which is the CAN. It's a different name for their CAN peripheral. TWAI. So they move some files around, blah, blah, blah. Let's go with the one that we see. Same thing. I bet you that's what this problem is too. cmake is bad, but it's much better and cleaner than make. Yeah. Part of the reason that we're still on make is that, like, our make system is kind of hairy, but it's hairy in the same way across all our ports. Like this giant list of includes from vendor SDK is like a common thing. So it's like, it's bad, but it's consistent, and consistent's really valuable. So I bet all of these component driver things are the same problem. Like I bet this spy stuff is that way too. So maybe what we do is we do components driver. So we look for components driver in common HAL, and we'll just update them all. There's not that many. DotClockFramebuffer has a components driver. GPIO. PWM out. As a, it's in the header. This is a little inconsistent, whether you use the full path or the like include path. I realized I basically navigate my code by file path a lot, and I don't think that's true for everyone, but because I do, I bias towards having like the full path here. Okay. Ooh, now I can do da 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 da. All right, let's do a build again. I want to make sure I'm making the right progress. Do 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 do. I don't know what this lwipopts thing is. So it's not in examples. lwip port include is where it is. So let's go back to our make file. Components, lwip include. So I wonder if, let's pull up our lwip include. So there is an lwip include, lwip port. So there's no ESP32 anymore. So I'm gonna where was it? Port. Let's guess that we take that ESP32 off and give that a shot. We're gonna have other problems, but that's fine. This is like very methodical sorts of stuff to fix. So now lwipopts is unable to find arch sysarch.h. So let's fix that first, because that's related to the thing we just changed. So it's in lwip. We don't want tests, so it's in port freertos include. Port freertos include. Yeah, and if folks have questions, please ask. Otherwise, I'm just doing the like pretty methodical fix all the compilation issues. We're looking for cc.h. And that's, okay, so that's in this ESP32XX. So, port freertos. We probably want to, we don't want that old one because that one doesn't exist anymore. They must do more and more development on Linux because they're factoring that out. So the nimble transport thing is still an issue, and then more driver stuff. I bet the transport thing is similar. That there's like a Linux transport and a okay, so all these ones, we're looking for exact stuff. So we want this last one. Yeah, lwip is the low. I don't actually know what it's an IP stack. I forget what it stands for. Okay, so now we're looking at BT host nimble. Look at this. Post nimble, nimble, nimble. 3 nimbles. Transport include. 1, 2, 3. Include. I bet we still need it. Of course, we don't have a good way of knowing when we don't need it. Let's do transport, and let's be better and alphabetize it. Do. All right, we're doing driver stuff. This looks like all driver stuff. Cool. Let's fix the driver includes. Plus IO UART, starting from the bottom again. I'm going to hazard a guess and say it's UART. Let's try it. I wish there wasn't this giant blob. I'm not sure where that giant blob is coming from. Oh, it's from this called process error, which is being, oh, it's a failure of make queue-string definitions. So the queue-string process is doing all of this include stuff. And then it's failing and raising an exception. Okay, so driver spy master. So let's see. Hopefully they renamed it, but they didn't. It's in driver spy. So we'll probably just need to add more here. And I squared C. So again, I'll just assume that it's I2C. I2S. Touchpad. Is part of touch sensor. That's why I wanted to look it up. And I think the other one was I2S types, right? Yeah. Okay, it's also under I2S. Let's do that too. Oh, it's like, I feel like I keep streaming because it's like a reasonable temperature in here. Oh, so it still didn't find touch sensor. This one we have to change in bus IO, which we have open. And then let's see. Is in driver, let's see. I thought touch sensor should work. I thought I fixed that. Oh, that was less, wasn't it? Touch sensor didn't work, but look, it fits almost on a single page. We've got alarm and digital in-out to fix on our side. And this is the argument why you shouldn't put the full path. I like the full path. I like to know where things come from. but we should standardize it. There's really good tooling in the Clang world for knowing like includes that are used or not used and things like that. So why is this touch sensor one not working? It's possible. Oh. There's a port specific, target specific one. That's why. Sweet. Driver touch sensor. Need that. Do. So now we're only missing ESP32.h. We're down to our last one. Our last header that moved on us. Okay, so now it's in ESP BT include target include. Components BT include IDF target include. Interesting, but it's not in the S chips at all. Why is that? This ESP BT chip, BT header is not for the S3. It should be there for the S3. Let's investigate. Because we're building for the S3, and that's why it's a problem. Maybe they did some cmake magic to like share C3 and S3 or some garbage like that. Okay. So we're now looking at BT components include, and there's no, so let's see what cmake list is doing. Ah, yeah, so here. cmake is saying, oh, and if it's an S3, then we include the C3's directory. Because that makes sense. Like, you couldn't even symlink it? Or, I don't know. How am I going to fix that? Well, I think I will do BT IDF target. We will say BT if equal IDF target ESP32 S3, then we're going to make BT IDF target equal to ESP32 C3. Otherwise, BT IDF target equals IDF target. All right. I mean, it makes sense to have one file, but when you have things split like that, it should be consistent. It's going to ruin my kconfig as well. My kconfig updater assumes that, hey, there's an H4 in here? I haven't seen the H4 before. Did they announce it? H4. No. Here we go. And all the readmes, they say like the H4. Oh, and nobody replied. They haven't announced it yet. These are modules that with a different name. Don't let it fool you. Hardware H. Yeah, see, so they only say H2 here. Well, there's probably an H4 at least that they're prototyping. C3, H2. Yep, no H4 yet. Oh, so this is a warning that we saw in the migration guide about address checking. So let's see what they say. Warnings. Address. Enhanced version of address warning, which is now more eager in detecting the checking of pointers to an array and an if statements. If array. Eliminating the unnecessary checks resolves the warning. Okay, so let's take a look at bindings. Like, I'm all for deleting code. Lightweight IP. Thank you, Lashonda. Sorry, I missed that earlier. Unexpected Maker says Espressif are trying to beat STM with the number of product SKUs they have. I don't know, I feel like STM is a lot. Like, I showed my boxes. Oh, I don't know if Unexpected Makers saw my boxes. I guess I showed it earlier. But I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different ST boxes, and that's just for the like STM32C0 or G0 or G4. So I don't know, STM has a pretty good grip on that. Okay, so ESP now, Peer. 86. It says Peer info will never be none. So let's just do that, and it should go away. And then Peer at 199. Set encrypted. I wonder why this is here. Oh, this is saying LMK is none. So let's Peer make new. Maybe what we need here is just a self peer Oh no, it's saying it's part of a struct and it's in the struct there. So it's never going to be none. Let's just do that. And I guess what we should do is we want to set peer info dot lmk 0 to equal the null character. Oh, you're on, sorry. I'm used to working on a big screen. Where I have the code is under chats. Francois, you see C code. Yes, so this is the C code underneath CircuitPython, which is Python on microcontrollers. And we're working on updating the ESP IDF to 5.1 actually. We finished the work on 5.0 and just wanted to see how far I could get on 5.1, which turns out to be pretty far. Okay, so we always know that like we have this LMK string, but I'm going to set it to null, and then get bytes length. How do we know we actually set it? Because it's possible the encryption is ESP now get bytes length. Like, should we just assume that if the key is 0, what are the odds that the first byte of an encryption key is 0? Maybe what we actually need is oh no, we don't need this. What we need to say is in this set encrypted, whether or not to use encryption. Need to sleep, good luck. Thanks for stopping by. Is there a default value for this? Is there a flag for an encryption key that is not valid? I don't know this ESP Now stuff. LMK, ESP IDF. Oh dear. Wi-Fi? No. ESP Wi-Fi. It's in exactly one spot. So I don't know how to mark, like to say that you didn't set a key. Like it's trying to check, but it's not valid. Or what we could do is we have peer info here. We could just add a bool that says key provided. LMK set. And then in here, of course, this is all. Set, and then we'll just track it. We'll track it separately and instead of trying to use some like fancy sentinel value. All right. The longer it takes, the better it's working, right? The builds do take like a minute and a half when they're not parallelized at all. No return function does return. That's not good. Common HAL. Alarm. I was seeing this earlier. Once again, line 216. It's marked no return. But this ESP deep sleep must not be marked as no return. In general, the function does not return, but if the sleep is rejected, then it returns from it. Okay, so we can't mark it no return because we may actually return. But it doesn't tell us how to detect whether it was rejected. Oh, all the other implementations don't return. Oh. Okay, so I guess what we could do is, instead of doing that, we could just while loop. But we could, does reset into safe mode no return? It's no inline. Do 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 do. We'll see if it fixes it. If it returns, it was rejected. Unfortunately, our API doesn't account for returns, so how do we handle an exception that we're not set up to do? It doesn't give us a reason. It doesn't give us a reason it was rejected, which would be nice. I'm pretty sure that we could raise an exception as well, but this is going to be called outside of the VM. This is called after. After everything. Like, do we shut down? We could do light sleep, but light sleep returns. We're building something. Building the IDF stuff. No such directory. Ooh, I think that worked. So there's no libcoexist for the S3. Ah, it's moved. It's in ESP coexist. Coexist would be too long. Okay, so this is in. Nice. It would be too easy. So we want to move this out of binary Wi-Fi blobs, and we add it just like this. Getting closer. It's true, we're to the linking step. It's true. I have a C6 here. Although we have 20 minutes till my 2 hours is up. But I do feel pretty good. It's only 80 in here. Oh. Undefined references. Okay. Lots of them. Load segment with wrong permissions. MMU, map, and net. Okay. Paste. ESP MM. So I think this is this components to link bit that we must not have. So like this ESP MM is probably new. So let's just try fitting it in here. Were these library changes mentioned in the migration guide? I don't know. I glanced at it, but I didn't look at absolutely everything, I don't think. No, I did look at everything. It's not. Which I'm not surprised by. Lashana says coax is the industry abbreviation for contending protocol accommodation. I'm sure it's covered by cmake TCD. But we're weird. We're weird here, and we just do it the manual way. Okay, so there's... Maybe we need to do the same thing for coax. Like, I bet there is an ESP coax component to link as well. Like, we're linking in the binary blob, but we're not linking the... the one we actually should build. Do. Another section called libraries in the guide? Yeah, but not under migration. Multiple versions with different numbers of handshake wires. Yeah, I like that I don't have to worry about it. Hey! We got a build! Alright, let me put... That's pretty good. I don't think it's a debug build, though. I should have done a debug build. Put my wires there. Alright, let's split top bottom. TO, dev, serial. By ID, USB, Silicon Labs. So this is the probes that I've got on the board. And then let's do port equals that and clean. Sometimes I do cleaning flash, but it's slow. So let's do a debug build. Now the opt build worked. Hopefully the debug build will work too. Will compile too. Yeah, Bluetooth and Wi-Fi is not stopping on each other. Yep, that's what I figured. Although I guess the H chips are Bluetooth and Thread or something, right? I wonder how hard the C6 would be to add. It showed the kconfig lib stuff. I expected port 295. I think this is an error that's in my... the thing I added earlier, the warning about JTAG config pins. Oh, I'm outside of my port. I don't want this one. Yeah. That warning is missing. Yeah, see the up arrow, that's why I didn't want to do the clean and flash, because I would have just started it all over. You only need to clean on the expressif port if you're changing the IDF. So like, because we're not using the cmake through and through, we'll only build all of the libraries for that from expressif if we're clean, and then flash. Boot crashes first result. All right. On this one or on the C6? That's why I'm doing a debug build though, so I can see what crashes I get. Do. Any questions I can answer while we're waiting for it to build? I think that might be all queue string stuff right at the start that's real slow. Could probably do H2 just because I'll be there, even though the BLE is not going to work that well. And the workflow won't work. I have H2 board. I have dev kits for the H2 as well, I think. Flash, 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 because everything changed. All right, let's hit reset and see what happens. Oh. Did I bump it? GPIO 42 in use. So this is the JTAG thing. But we did get a drive, and it didn't overwrite it either. It's a little slow. It worked. It didn't crash. Yippee. And this is the module I don't think we can do at 120. I think we can only do it at 80. Let's just do a quick run of... let me grab my... Let's do the Wi-Fi test script that I've been running. I have a folder I call random backups. So... window. So there's my random backup. So I'm going to drag code. And I'm going to drag settings.toml, which has my Wi-Fi settings in it, and Adafruit requests. And this won't change at all because we're getting the debug logging there too. So let's open the actual CDC. So you can see we're in the REPL, and it's going out the UART port. Oh, and interesting, we're getting the ESP logs there as well. Okay, so now it's doing Wi-Fi. And we rebooted, but we did get, so Wi-Fi status is here in the title bar. So we do have an IP. Oh, and we hit an assertion. Because we're doing nano. Interesting. Unsupported format character. Well, I'm glad we had that open. Ship it. Well, I just crashed it, so not quite there yet. And our USB is dead. Unsupported format character failed at MP print 585. That is weird, because I ran this test. Are we 585? Assert. That is really weird. Where are we getting in it? And it doesn't. It doesn't tell us what the character is. Mod E tag. Is there a way to get an assertion, a call stack on an assertion failure? I would hope so. Huh. I kind of expected it to, honestly, but because there's a panic handler. This is just the logging. So now we can just do another flash. Oh, reset in the downloader. The answer is I don't actually know a quick way to get a call stack. Wrote, waiting to download, restart. I'm hoping that format character L oh, it looks like maybe it's the info print itself that is failing. Feature complete, now it's just bug fixing. It's always bug fixing. Format character L. We can just make it not crash. We can remove the assert. But yeah, a backtrace would be nice. There is a way to print one. Like, there's a OG backtrace. Like, there's a function call I think we can call. Like, there's this ESP. I'm trying to look at the headers. ESP debug headers. Print the backtrace of the current stack. $100. I don't know. Is it just in like debug helpers? Oh yeah, that's a good idea too, logging though. It looks like it doesn't, it's adjusting it's not holding on to the original thing. No, that would be too easy. I could log it. Yeah, that's true. Still going or it crashed? Oh, we hit safe mode that time. Memory access or instruction error. It's weird though that we're not getting in the panic handler. Like, we're in debug mode, we shouldn't be going all the way around to safe mode. Here's the startup. Yeah, let's log that. I feel like I'm so close. Yeah, maybe I should just do it as one. I feel like I'm close. And if I'm close, do I really want to do a 5.0 and then a 5.1 update? I wonder, Jeff changed the thing so that like I'm a little worried we're infinitely recursing in if printfs, which kind of would explain this. Huh. Have a good one, an unexpected maker. Thanks for stopping by. Oh yeah, and I am out of time. But that's what I suspect what is happening is that like doing some sort of inception where the printfs from the IDF's code is using MicroPython's version, but MicroPython's version doesn't support all the features that the IDF is using. So another thing we could try actually is just turning debug back off now that we know it kind of works. Because then we won't use it. Hi, Abe. But that's what that feels like to me, is it's infinite recursion. Like we're calling ourselves to format the thing to say that we're formatting the thing. Oh, I didn't clean, did I? That was way too fast. Okay, I'll start to wrap up, even though I want to see if this works. If you just joined, welcome. Sorry, I'm about to head out. This is a deep dive where I, Scott, work on the core of CircuitPython, usually Fridays at 2 p.m. Pacific, here on the Adafruit YouTube streaming channels. If you want to know more about Adafruit, you can go to adafruit.com. You can purchase hardware there. They pay me to stream. They pay me to work on CircuitPython, so please support them for that. And if you want to hang out on the Discord server, which is the chat above me, you can join by going to adafru.it/discord. The nice thing about that chat is that it sticks around after streams. And a lot of CircuitPython development happens in the CircuitPython-dev channel. So that's whenever somebody's trying to get into the hacking on the core and building CircuitPython themselves, I recommend the CircuitPython dev channel. Me and the other folks that work on CircuitPython are paid for, well, those of us who are paid by Adafruit and those of us aren't, are generally around during US work hours during the work week. So that's a great place to get help with things as well. I think that's mainly it. I think next week we'll be on for normal. So check that out as well. And I'm stalling because I want to see if this works before the stream ends. I have a tape measure to fidget with as well. Ooh, can I run under GDB and have a breakpoint? I have not used GDB with Expressif, actually. I expected the backtrace feature to work, but I think, like I was getting at, I think we might have told it to use our own version of printf. And I suspect that's the problem. So I'll figure out why. Figure out why that is. It might be like a MicroPython setting, actually. All right, let's see what happens. Hey, there we go. This makes me wonder if this is actually an issue with 5.1. So it looks like I don't want to jinx it, but this is doing pretty good. I think the reason that it dumped into the REPL here is because I do have it's still set up to use the console, and when it's set up to use the console and the RX pin is floating, it gets noise on the UART, which causes random characters to come in and get you into the REPL. So I actually probably want to turn that off. I think the setting that is causing this problem is because I know Jeff changed this stuff a little bit. In the qualia build, there's this SDK config for turning the UART on, and by default, so I did that and then rebuild again, which is going to take a while, but that'll stop the CircuitPython serial output from going to all that. And there's also this console which I don't want as well. But yeah, so that is exciting stuff. It does make me feel like I want to just skip straight to 5.1. Like if the Wi-Fi is working, that's a really great sign. So yeah, maybe next week we'll have a PR for 5.1. I think because I did a bunch of kconfig stuff as well, I'll probably do H2 and C6 just to, there's like shared SDK configs per target. So I kind of want to make sure that those targets work. I wanted to do that with 5.1, but besides that, it's looking really good to go to 5.1. Which is great news. 5.0 was a huge thing, and I should also just thank Microdev for the work that they did to get us on 5.1. On 5.0. I did not have to do a lot. Microdev did a lot of the hard work for that. So I'm just, they're a student, so they're at school right now, so I'm picking up from them and finishing it. Anyway, see you on Discord. See you next week. Support me by supporting Adafruit, blah, 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 adafruit.com. Thank you all. Have a great weekend.